Vikings just made their pick. Adam, what can you tell us about him?
He's only been around the game of football for a few years, but when you look at his combine, you can see why he had so much success in college. This guy is pure athlete, and he looked faster than any of the other defensive linemen in the class. Matt Miller used his split times in the 40 and broad jump numbers to make the point that this kid has one of the fastest first steps of anyone in the class. He's the type of lineman that can get free from the block and be in the quarterback's face in an instant. He's a dynamic defensive lineman that can provide an immediate boost in production for this team's defense.
The Texans are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. Giants pick is in. Let's go to Adam with more on Bennett.
Every year, the rookie who runs the fastest 40 at the combine seems to immediately become very popular with NFL scouts. So after turning in the fastest time of his class, he's in the spotlight ever since. On top of that, his shuttle and three-cone times also help solidify the fact that he's just plain fast. The team could definitely use an injection of speed, and this is a step in the right direction.
All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
For the majority of the season, he was part of a QB class that had no real standouts. But during the offseason, he attended a QB camp with a few other prospects, and you could see the improvement on a daily basis. Matt Miller tells me that once pro days rolled around, you could see just how much he improved in terms of his mechanics and his release being quicker. He's been able to remain accurate despite the extra zip behind the ball. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, but we won't see how good he is until he gets on the field.
The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
The foundation of any good team starts up front, and here's a guy who's a franchise's dream come true. GMs I talked to pointed to several of his games in college where he took on some of the nation's best defensive linemen, going toe-to-toe with them for 60 minutes of brutal trench combat and dominating them. He's going to be able to protect the franchise quarterback in addition to opening up holes for the run game. With size, speed, and strength, he should have a very successful NFL career.
The Browns are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock. Let's go to Adam now, who has more on the Bears' last pick.
He's the type of offensive lineman that doesn't get mentioned often by the commentators, but when they do, it's complimentary. He's a smart, big guy who knows how to play mistake-free at the line. In fact, he won a stretch of games this season in which he didn't allow a single sack. That's an impressive feat for any college offensive lineman, and it's no wonder to see a team take him. He's going to have to adjust to the larger size and strength of NFL defensive linemen, but I think his intangibles are stronger than any lineman in this class.
The Jets are now on the clock. Adam, what can you tell us about Rhodes? Scholarly pick?
Accounting for over 200 receiving yards in the last game of his collegiate career, he burst onto the scene, going from a relatively unknown player to the draft's top tight end prospect in a matter of weeks. Sources tell me it wasn't his stat line that impressed scouts, but rather his route running. In the game, he put on a clinic, running a variety of routes and creating separation time and time again against one of the nation's best defensive backfields, a backfield loaded with future NFL talent. While his big game resume isn't deep, he should get an opportunity to compete for the starting job.
The Bills are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. Now that he's just been picked, Adam, what can you tell us about Rodriguez?
He had one of the worst pro days you could have for a defensive lineman. One coach put him through a series of drills, but halfway through you could clearly see him beginning to tire. According to Matt Miller, he looked considerably tired in the second half of the day and took frequent breaks. At the moment, he doesn't look like an every down lineman. He's really going to need to work on his conditioning to make it through an entire NFL season.
The Bears are now on the clock. Adam Schefter now with the inside scoop on King.
It's unfortunate to see a player recovering from an injury only to have it happen again, especially in an exhibition game. It was one of the rare times I've seen a brutal injury at the annual All-Star game between future NFL players. He took a hit that tore his ACL a second time in less than a year. That kind of injury history might scare away most teams, but it didn't scare away this team from drafting him. I've been told by his agent he's still recovering from the surgery, but he should be ready to play for training camp.
The Saints are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock. The Raiders are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock. The Titans are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Redskins are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock. Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
He came so close to breaking Barry Sanders' old rushing record, which is a pretty impressive effort on its own. He was able to at least walk away with a new school record for rushing yards in a season, and the honor was well deserved. He accounted for over half of the team's offensive production this past season, helping him accumulate over 2,000 yards. What Matt Miller liked the most out of him was his vision and ability to read the blocks, attacking the right gaps each time he touched the ball. He also has the shiftiness to avoid the first tackle, and after that, it's off to the races. He was a fun tailback to watch in college, and hopefully for the team, the same will apply in the NFL.
The Panthers are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Steelers just made their pick. Adam, what can you tell us about the great Alexander?
Well, there isn't much to say other than this kid was born to run. He's the spitting image of his father, a nationally ranked sprinter in several major events, and highly recruited by every major college. However, unlike his dad, he chose to pursue a career in football, and so far that decision is paying off. He may not be gold medal fast, but he has the speed and quickness to cause fits for the opposing team. He's the type of player you like to see out in the open field where he can make moves a lot of other players can't. The coaches are going to love having his speed at their disposal.
The Rams are now on the clock. The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Chiefs are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Redskins are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock. The Falcons are now on the clock. The Bills are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock. The Patriots are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock. The Saints are now on the clock.